You have to know the difference between a bad day and a bad moment. We don't have bad days. You actually have bad moments in your day. All right. Yes. What's up, people? What is up? Never Settle in the building. Yes. So good to see y'all. Good to see you here. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. This is a big deal. Welcome to the show. My name is Mario Armstrong, and it's time for Never Settle. Let's do this. I'm pumped. I'm excited if you can't tell already. I'm excited. One of the things, though, that has me really concerned right now in our country is how much we actually compare ourselves to others on social media, and comparing ourselves is affecting our mental health, and slowly it's killing our spirit. We're all pretty much guilty of doing comparisons, including myself. But I know I can't be the only one, right? So I hit the streets of New York to find out how pervasive this really is. Take a look.
Definitely like with social media, I mean, mostly like Instagram too. You see what other people are doing your age and you're like, oh, like, should I be doing more of that?
If I take pictures, I feel like I'll think like, oh, it's not as good as this person's account or like this picture.
Recently, I deleted everybody that I'm following related to what I do, so that way I don't feel myself necessarily comparing all the time and competing against other people that I've never met.
I actually deleted Instagram because I just kept scrolling for hours on looking at other people's lives. It's never like a fun thing to go and see other people doing better than you.
Oh, everybody's like, oh, it's true. It's never a fun thing to feel that way. Absolutely. Even if you don't intend to compare, it's hard not to. Even if your intentions, you don't want to do it, it's hard not to. Or how about maybe that first time you actually followed someone and you were initially inspired by them, and then it turned to envy and jealousy? No? Oh, I'm the only one. I'm the only one willing to be vulnerable and drop these facts right now. I'm the only. Okay, so here's the deal. You are passively scrolling through, right? You're on Instagram, you're doing your thing, you're scrolling. You're looking at other people's projected perfection. When you do that, your happiness can decrease. And because we have access to social media all day long, we easily get bombarded with all types of images that can make us end up feeling less than who we are. I said can. And it turns out we are checking social media way more than many of us think. Take a look at this poll. This is a Twitter poll that we did where we asked, how often do you think we check social media on our phones? 10 to 25 times a day, 25 to 40, 40 plus. People think, some people are saying they think it's 40 plus, which it is. It's more than 40 plus. People think, though, 48% think it's 10 to 25 times per day that they are checking social media. But the real number is 52 times per day, according to a Deloitte study. So this is for real. Now, every free moment we get, we're on our phones. I don't care if you're at the doctor's office waiting. I don't care if you're in the grocery store. You're waiting for the train. You're trying to go on your commute. You're in the car. Like, you're on the phone, not driving. And on the phone, okay? Not driving, checking social media. But we are checking social media way more than we think we are, is the point. And if you haven't recently looked, you should check out how much time you actually spend on your phone by tracking the apps and the usage. I do this all the time. Check this out. This is my screen. This is what my screen time is. Mario's iPhone, daily average. I'm on this thing 6 hours and 37 minutes, and that's 22% down from last week. It is great. Somebody said that's great. The whole idea, people, is we are underestimating how much we actually use our phones. And it really reminds me how much we're actually underestimating how we compare ourselves to others. And I know the first thing some of y'all are going to say, oh, I can hear it now. Mario, I don't compare. I don't do that. I don't compare myself to other people. And I would say that's just not true. You may not call it comparing, but that's what you're actually doing. You are either judging somebody else or you are lacking something that's making you feel that way. But here's the real problem. The majority of stuff that we see is somebody's highlight reel. Like, that's what they're showing us, their best self, right? And the only way you can actually avoid comparing, I don't know if you know this, but the only way to avoid comparing is to actually observe something without judgment. That's it. You have to be able to look at her in the line and not say, that bag is hot, how come she has it and I don't? You have to be able to not judge. You have to be able to keep your calm and to observe. But most of us don't really want to do that, or we don't know how, or it takes extreme self-awareness to get there. It takes a lot of confidence, a lot of security in who you are. So it keeps happening even if it's not intentional. Now, we're less likely to expose our own insecurities through all these apps. You don't see anybody throwing their stuff. They're overcompensating and pushing all types of BS perfection about their lives. And it boils down to basically a comparison that you're doing between your reality, like you know the stuff that you're going through, but it's between someone else's projected perfection. So people just aren't living on boats. Y'all know this though, right? Like they just aren't going on trips all day long. Like they're not just living their best life. Like every day of the week, they living their best life. Like it's just not happening. But no one wants to show the ups and the downs. Nobody wants to show the process of life. And the reason is because we're all scared. Everybody wants to really put the reward in front of the process. The prize is more important than the process. That's not the case, but we celebrate the prize so much that we don't even get to understand what someone's process has been. And we're so addicted to approval from others, like so bad, that we can't even sometimes be ourselves. I mean, case in point, here is an actual text message that I had, and I was working with a listener of my Wake Up and Level Up podcast. Shout out to all the Wake Up and Level Up listeners that listen to the podcast. Appreciate you. And I was telling them, I said, look, you got to stop wearing social masks. Be more vulnerable. The more vulnerable you are, the more authentic you can be. His reply to me was, I'm trying to be more authentic. Now, I'm not trying to make him look bad, but I'm just trying to call out something that a lot of people think. You can't try to be authentic. You either are authentic or you're not. Period, end of story. That's it. We need to stop pushing ourselves and really punishing ourselves for not being where we think we should. And that's why we end up feeling this way. What we really do is need to be focusing on what actually makes us different, what actually makes us unique. We need to accentuate that. It's probably that thing that you were actually teased on in school. The very thing that you probably got picked on, maybe even bullied over, or maybe something that you feel extremely insecure about is probably the very superpower that can change your life if you're willing to have the courage to go and face it. Dead serious. Dead serious. You see, to me, vulnerability and transparency is today's new currency. The more courage you have to be more vulnerable, the more you are going to find out that you will start winning. The more you're willing to start to shed the things that are in your life that you feel weighing you down, that you do not want to visit in your mind because of the pain that it causes, the more you can slowly get comfortable getting to that, it's going to release so much from you. Some of you are nodding your head because some of you have already done this, and you've been through it, and so you know what it's like. So here's a post where I was like, look, let me see if I can kind of help level the playing field. Not that everybody in the world is going to see the post, but it was just more like I want to start to show more of my struggle because I think it's important when you are doing things and you're ambitious, and I'm a positive person, so everybody knows I'm extremely positive. I'm like, you know, they see me and they're like, Mario, the energy machine. You know, they like, Super Mario is here. Like, they expect that energy, and I'm like, yes, that's who I am. But when you are ambitious, you do see goals, you see things you want to achieve, and you do get frustrated. You do get depressed. You can get sad. And I'm not saying I had depression. That's a different level, and I respect that. I'm just saying I was having tough moments. But you have to know the difference between a bad day and a bad moment. We don't have bad days. You actually have bad moments in your day. If you actually look at your day and say, you know what, that was a bad moment that happened to me. That moment that happened in the morning has no business changing how you feel in the evening. It's a bad moment, not a bad day. Now, I'm not the only one that's willing to kind of come clean and say, look, I was done on this day. I mean, I wrote it. I was in the bed. There was nothing physically wrong with me. I didn't know the next step. I really felt tired and frustrated. You know how you have a hunger for something you want to go and do in your life, and you know like it's not happening on your timetable, and you start to feel like, why are we even doing it? Maybe I should just give up. And so that's where I was at that point. But I know I'm not going to quit, but I had to let people know, like, I didn't want to have a post that's out here like I'm living my best life, but I'm upset as hell. but I'm going to fake it. No, people need to know the truth. They need to see the real. And I think that's what would really help a lot of us start to come out of our shell more. But I'm not the only one that feels like this. Actor, author, and founder of the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation, Taraji P. Henson, she had this to say. It's very rare that someone shows that they're struggling or that they're going through something. That's from Taraji. She's showing some real truth about her vulnerability. She's stepping in to let everyone know. And I love how she's advocating for our mental health and also that she's courageous enough to step forward and show that she struggles with it just as well. This is a big deal. This is a big thing. For someone like that we envision being well-to-do for themselves, being open enough to say, no, this happens to me too, and it's not good for us. Shout out to Taraji for doing that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It amazes me how we allow our own self-doubt, the things that happen to us as a child, the things that happen to us in our backgrounds, the circumstances that have evolved in our lives, that we're allowing that to shape us. And then when we start comparing ourselves, it gets even worse, how we can end up feeling. And look, I love social media, so don't try to call me out and be like, oh, Mario, some old dude trying to talk down about social media. I'm not trying to talk down about social media, and I'm not some old dude, by the way. Just want to clear that up before any of you out there on YouTube call me that in the comments. Now, comparison is something we do, especially when we're insecure about ourselves. Social media just adds gas to the fire. That's all. We end up keeping score in relation to other people online. We compare our social status to somebody else, and we might not even know who these people are. You heard the woman. She's like, I stopped following people that were in my same area that I'm in, and I stopped comparing myself to them because I don't even know them. And that's the problem. We're comparing our lives, our successes, our goals, our everything about us against really a false narrative, something that's not even true, against people we don't even know. And here's the bottom line. You can't want for someone else's blessings because you don't know their burdens. You do not know what someone else is going through or has gone through to where they are. It is not apples to apples, ever. But let me make something else really clear. Social media itself, like I said, it's not to blame. It's how we use it, though, that really is. So I want to share with you a few tips that I'm hoping can help us all feel a little bit better, especially if you're dealing with the same problem. Number one, we can really mute or remove some of these social media profiles that really make you feel bad about yourself. Now, I want to be extremely clear right now. Just because you remove profiles does not get to the root of the problem. You can still have hate. You can still be wishing somebody is doing less than you. You can still feel bad or insecure. Just because you remove the profile doesn't mean when you walk out of the street and onto your job that you aren't looking at somebody saying, well, at least I'm a manager and he's not. So that doesn't get to the root of the problem, but it can help you. I just want to make sure that you know the difference. Number two, follow people that inspire you. Use these platforms to feed you what you really want on your feed. That's really it. Number three, set a daily time limit and consciously cut down on that time. This is real. Some people don't know how to manage it so much that they're just like, I'm deleting everything. That doesn't solve the problem, though. It really, really doesn't. I know that that can make you feel better, but at the core, it's not changing the entire thing. Social media is like this kerosene. It's really just poured on the flame of social comparison. It's dramatically increasing the information about people that we're exposed to. And then we start assessing, how many likes do they have? What's the number of subscribers they got? How does that compare to us? And it can feel like, oh, maybe that's kind of rock solid proof of how strong they are on some imagined ladder. But to me, I just feel like comparison is really killing our joy. And in a time right now where so many people are already dealing with so many mental health struggles that are so serious and so real, the last thing we need to do is reinforce to anyone that we should be allowed to compare our dreams, our desires, our goals, our intentions to somebody else. And for those of you that think like, Mario, I get it. We compare. No, I don't know if you really get it. This is a real thing. In 1954, social comparison, there was a social psychologist that came out and said that this is a real thing. There's a theory of social comparison, and that theory argues that your own feelings of self-worth are dependent upon how you think you measure up to people around you. So it's normal. This is normal to wonder how we measure up. It's normal to compare, is what the psychologist is saying. According to social comparison theory, this drive is part of our basic need, our basic desire to understand who we are, because we're social people. We like to connect with other people. So we're, by nature, social. Psychologists even take this a little bit deeper. They divide social comparison into two main categories. Downward comparison, which involves comparing yourself to someone else that's doing worse than you, and upward comparison, when you're comparing to someone that's actually doing better than you. Here's the thing about downward comparison that's really scary too. When you say, I'm doing better than them, or when you say, oh, at least I don't have it that bad, when you look down at someone like that, downward comparison means someone else has to be doing bad in order for you to feel good. And that right there is a really bad set of negative energy that you're carrying around. Upward comparison, on the other hand, for me, this is kind of a double-edged sword, because it can really be a great thing, but it can also be a bad thing. You know, the good is that it can provide inspiration, it can help you get motivated to improve, it can really push you and give you some awareness. It can provide useful information about maybe how to overcome an obstacle or how to get something done because you got inspired by someone else that actually did it. The flip side of that, though, is that it can end up fueling envy and low self-esteem. So you got to be careful, according to the social comparison theory. So I do this too. I compare myself to other people all the time. Now, I mentioned earlier in the show about being vulnerable, so let me go ahead and be full-on vulnerable right now. I've measured myself up against other TV personalities. I've done this. And when you compare yourself to others, you're taking the focus off of yourself. But I'm going to go super vulnerable. So there was this moment when Kelly Ripa was looking for a host. I don't know if any of y'all remember this, but she was looking for a host. This goes back several years. And she was looking for a host. And I was like, what? I've been doing my thing. I'm ready. I've been on CNN, this thing, and Today Show, that thing, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, I need to go ahead and try to get in on this. I want to get a shot, right? I wanted to get a shot. I wasn't even on the radar. I wasn't on the radar for them. I wasn't on the radar. And you know who ended up getting the gig, right? Michael Strahan got it. Michael Strahan got the gig. So Michael had nothing to do with me not getting it, but the minute Michael got it, I'm comparing myself to him. And I'm like, well, why did he get it? How come he got the shot? What? I'm good. What's going on? Why can't I get the shot? Until I researched on him. And then I found out how hard he's been working, how many projects he's been doing, how much stuff he's been really pushing and putting out there that I had no idea he was working on. So here I am comparing myself to somebody that's not even really taking food off my plate. He doesn't even know me. I don't even know him. It's unfair for me to compare myself in that situation, but it's something that we do. You do it. How come she got that promotion? Or how come he got asked to go and deliver the pitch for the company? We do it. But here's the problem. When we compare, we are no longer taking our energy and putting it into us. We are shifting it on the wrong person completely. And where your energy flows is where your attention goes. Think about that. Where your energy goes, your attention flows. The more you feed it, the more it's going to come back to you. Think about all those times you spent looking at other people and whether or not you could have been, using that time to really help yourself build up. So I want to share with you an exercise that really has helped me kind of deal with comparing myself to others. It's something that I call the S-curve. Now, the S-curve isn't something that's new, but it's something that allows you to compare yourself against yourself. It's a way to figure out where you are in relation to you. I didn't come up with the S-curve. The S-curve was originally created to track the lifespan of a technology product. But when I saw this, I was like, wait, I realized that you could actually apply this to personal growth if you use it in a really useful way. So I'm going to start with what your S-curve could actually look like. You start off slow in your new passion, your new career, your new idea down here. And then you start to learn and absorb as much as you possibly can. You get training, you get some experience, and you start to get to that expansion level. And then if you're consistent and you're doing things, you can actually hit some hyper growth. And if you do, that'll get you to that mastery level. Now, when you're trying to compare yourself against yourself, and you're trying to figure out how to use this S-curve to your advantage, you got to be honest about where you actually are in your own life. If you're not honest about where you're putting yourself on the S-curve, it doesn't work. So I'm going to try to create an example for you to try to play this out in your mind. So here's an example. Follow me on this. We're going to do an S-curve, but let's say you're a chef, but your dream is to open up a restaurant. So to help that person identify where they are on the S-curve, we need to assess by asking them some questions. We need to assess their experience and their skill set. You need to ask yourself questions and answers, and you have to do them honestly. For instance, with a chef, with a dream to open a restaurant, here's what I would say. Have you ever been a master chef in a restaurant before? That's the first question. Have you? If the answer is no, then stop thinking just because you're a great chef that you should be up here. You're down here somewhere. Now, if you said yes, maybe so. Now, have you ever worked with management on pricing or hiring or menu pricing or marketing or any of that stuff that's required to run a restaurant? Have you done any of that or been exposed to that? Oh, you have? Okay, then you get to move up your S-curve. If you haven't, okay, then you're down at the bottom of this. Once you identify where your starting point is, then you need to kind of look at different ways to make moves. Like sometimes you just have to take that step back to move forwards. In other words, you might need to step down to a smaller restaurant that's going to give you the experience that you're actually missing so that you can actually start to get to owning your own restaurant. Just if you do this S-curve, just be completely truthful with it. We put up a template up on our website so that you all can access it, so that you can try it out. We give you some steps. We give you examples on how you can actually use it. So just go to neversettle.tv/S-curve, and you can get everything that you need to go ahead and plot your own S-curve. So many of you have come such a long way in your life. The distance you traveled is legit, and you owe it to yourself to respect yourself, respect your work, your sacrifices, your choices. Comparison is real, people, and if we aren't careful, it will kill our spirit. Don't waste time. Don't give any energy to those things absolutely outside of your control. It is a complete waste. It's not about changing what others think about you. It's about you changing what you think about yourself. That's what it boils down to. Because if you stay focused on delivering the best you, if you're putting yourself in the best position to win, if you're embracing your uniqueness and your gifts, one day you're going to walk around and you're going to end up telling a story of how you overcame what you're going through right now, and that's going to be a page in someone else's guide for survival. Never settle. Yeah. So we're building this community together, right, on this YouTube page. So I need to hear from you. I really want to get intimate. If you like what's going on, tell me what you like. If there are topics that you want me to talk about or touch on, tell me what those are. If you don't like what I'm talking about, tell me why. This is not just about me talking to you. It's about us having a conversation with us. So if this has been doing anything for you, like it, subscribe to it. It definitely matters. Hit the little bell icon for the notifications too, so you can get hit up for that, and then share it out. But even like I said, if you're not into what's being said, tell me why not, so that I can adjust to make it more pleasant and more valuable for you.